I hereby call this meeting of the Iowa State University Student Government duly open for order. We will begin the night, as always, with roll call. When I say your name, please say here or present, starting with Agba. Becker. Braun. Bruick. Burks. Cecil. Dre. Eisma. Engelken. Frencher. Gopa. Hackbarth. Heidenreich. Holiday. Kamstra. Kuehler. Mahoney. Margaret. Mays. Moskar. Momini. Patel. Schnepp. Slade. Slater. Tansey. Chopete. Vo. That we do have quorum for this evening. We'll now move into the pledge led by Speaker Mahoney. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin the program, I did want to point out that we do have 2 boxes of Dunkin' Donuts up here. If you did not already get one, feel free to come grab one and pass the box around. We've got plenty. But with that, we will start the programs now, beginning with the asset updates. If you could, senators, could please put down their laptop screens so we can give our full attention to our asset liaisons.
To give us their full attention, so we appreciate that. Good evening, I'm Sandra King. I'm the Story County representative on asset.
And good evening, I'm Jean Cressy. I'm the president and CEO of United Way of Story County.
So thank you for the invitation for us to talk to you about asset today. Next slide, please. So I'll just give you a little history of asset. It was formed in 1985 to promote coordination of human services planning and funding, assess needs and evaluate agency capabilities to meet them, make funding recommendations, and utilize citizens to help perform the asset functions. So basically, the funders thought that they would be able to pool their resources and maximize support for human services in the community when they recognized that funding for human services was shrinking. So a little bit about the organization and structure. There are currently 4 funders that support asset, and that is the City of Ames. They do so with local option sales tax dollars. Story County does so with property tax and local option sales tax dollars. ISU Student Government with student fees, and United Way of Story County donations through the annual campaign. The people who make up asset, there's one staff person from each funder. So Jean and I from 2 of the funders, and then Deb Shildroth from the City of Ames, and this year Sarah Schroeder from ISU Student Government. 6 volunteers are from each, except for ISU Student Government has 4 volunteers. And together we make up the asset board. We're non-voting. And there's also an independent contractor that provides administrative support, also non-voting. So the asset process, it's created by the funders through a 28E agreement and is subject to open meeting and open records laws. So Iowa Code Chapter 21 and 22. Chapter 21 is for open meetings. Chapter 22 is for open records. So the meetings are public. Anyone can come to the asset meetings, either the admin team meetings or the asset board meetings. We also have to post our agendas. We have to do so 24 hours in advance, and also have to take minutes. For open records, if anyone requests any of the records, we can redact any confidential information, but need to provide the information that is not confidential if it's requested. So the administrative team this year will be Joel Hochstein, who is the chair. The vice chair is currently vacant. We're working on filling that. Ron Smith is going to be the treasurer. Nikki Fisher is the past chair. She's just completing her term at the end of this month. And the staff, as I mentioned earlier, Deb with the City of Ames, Sarah with ISU Student Government, I represent Story County, Jean represents United Way, and then Lois Vitamos is the administrative assistant. So some dates for you to remember. The asset meetings are held the second Thursday, as shown on the asset calendar. They always start at 5 p.m. The asset calendar will be, is always posted on the website. And then we have been holding all of the meetings at City Church on Oakwood Road. That may change this year. We're in the process of looking at some other options, but currently that's where we've been holding it. Administrative team meetings or admin team meetings are held on the first Wednesday of the month, unless otherwise indicated on the calendar. Periodically, there may be 2 meetings that fall within a month, but for the most part, we have them monthly. And those are always held at the United Way at 315 Clark and Ames. Some additional dates. Budget requests are due September 27th. This is working off of this year's calendar at noon. Revised budgets are due October 13th, 5 p.m. Restated budgets are due November 17th at noon. And the liaison reports, which the volunteers complete by visiting the asset-funded agencies and also meeting with their boards of directors, finding out more about the strengths and weaknesses of the services that they provide and so forth. The volunteers complete a report and submit that report by November 9th this year. Some other dates, we have hearings each January with all of the agencies. Each of the agencies come through and make a 5-minute presentation and then allow 10 minutes for questions, providing information on whatever has changed with the services they provide and any additional information that they want to share. We also, so we have 2 days of the hearings, and then we have 3 days, which we have when we have the work sessions. And each of those 32 or so agencies are divided among these 3 focus areas. We have education, that'll be held on a Monday. So this, in 2024, it'll be January 8th. Financial stability will be held on January 10th, a Wednesday, and then a Thursday, health would be held January 11th. And then on January 19th, those funding recommendations will be posted online for each of the agencies, and whoever wants to have that information can see. And just a little bit more about those focus areas. Education, you would have services such as public education and awareness, volunteer management, out-of-school programming, and so forth. And some of the agencies may fit into all 3 of those categories, like YSS, for example, might fit in all 3. And then you have financial stability, any of the child care agencies, transportation, rent and utility, legal aid, and similar services. And then health, the third focus area there, medical and dental services, domestic and sexual abuse, mental health, adult daycare, substance use, similar services. And then I'll turn it over to Jean, and she has a few more slides to share with you.
All right. So collectively, this process this year that we just ended in January, the volunteers recommended allocations to all 4 funders to the tune of about $4.8 million. So it's on that slide. You can see where we all fit as far as how much money is going into the process. and what the percentage is. So you can see at the 22-23 fiscal year, and our fiscal year for asset is July through June, and then the 23-24. So this process starts in September, like Sandra said, agencies turn in their budgets. It's a budget requesting services. Those services have already been vetted at one point or another, but doesn't guarantee that they get funding. So each volunteer from the 4 funders serve on one of those focus areas of education, financial stability, or health. And they are there at the work team following the hearings, and then they make these recommendations. The last meeting of the month for January, then, all 3 of the work teams are together, and they look at all of the recommendations, and they vote on those recommendations. Those recommendations then go back to the respective funders. So for United Way, that would be our board of directors. For the county, it would be the board of supervisors. For city council, it would be, or for the city, it would be the council and the mayor. And for Iowa State University, it would be all of you. We do have volunteers here tonight, so I just want to shout out, you've already heard about Sarah, so she was our staff member. Bryce is over in the corner. He served on which focus area, Bryce? Education. And then we've got Quinn over here, and I believe he served on financial stability. And then Nick served on health. So shout out to all of them for the hard lift and the heavy lift. So this is, like Sandra said, this process has been in existence since 1985. And why is it important? For all the reasons why she said, but also because when an agency, we'll pick on YSS for a change, when YSS is coming to United Way and asking for money for their out-of-school programming, I know what the county's giving them, and I know what the city's giving them, and I would know what Iowa State student government's giving them. I don't know who's doing our slides. So how do the agents, or how do you volunteers know, how do the volunteers know how to allocate funds? Each funder has priorities, and I believe you'll be talking about your priorities. A lot of those priorities are similar, but we all have unique priorities as well. So the volunteers have to learn those priorities, or at least have them close by. We also look at community needs assessment. So in 2020, Story County did have a community needs assessment. We're in the process of gearing up for our 2025 needs assessment. So agencies and funders would both look at those needs assessments, and they would make the priorities based on that. Sandra mentioned the liaison assignment. So when we talk about asset volunteers like Bryce and Sarah, et cetera, we also call them asset board members, and we also call them asset liaisons. So they wear many hats. So each volunteer is assigned to 1 or 2 agencies, and it's because we've got 30-some agencies. Not all 24 volunteers can go meet with every agency. So we do this in smaller groups, and then they submit a report to the rest of the asset volunteers. So I wasn't able to go to YSS, so I can read the report from the liaison from YSS. It just is an opportunity to hear a little bit more. So there's about 30 agencies that go through the process and about 90 programs that are funded. The budget process, like Sandra said, starts in September. Agencies have to do this great Excel spreadsheet. So if anybody's really great at Excel spreadsheets, you should volunteer to be a volunteer, because we need great people who know Excel spreadsheets. They submit the budget. The asset administrative team then works on screening the budgets to make sure all the things are in there that need to be there. And then the volunteers are given what we call the asset budget book, and it's about this thick. I think it was a little over 600 pages this year. Not only does it include budget information, but it also includes program outcomes, because that's important to us. We want to make sure that the dollars that have been gifted to United Way, or the dollars that have been given through the taxpayers or through your student fees, are invested wisely. The budget process I talked a little bit about. So agencies need to report on increases or decreases. We want to look at that. We also fund the programs by a reimbursement model. I think all of us do that now. And so to be uniform across for childcare, for example, the cost for the unit for a childcare is 1 day or 1 partial day. And so everybody's using the same units. The cost per unit changes based on that agency's expenses and how many units they plan to provide. I want to go back for a second. I think I covered everything on that. I'll just say this, asset is not meant to be the sole, asset funders are not meant to be the sole funder for one agency or one program, so we really want them to diversify. It's, like I said, it was $4.8 million. The request this year was closer to $5.5 million. We didn't have that much to distribute, so we need to make sure that they are looking at other sources for funding. She's already talked about the hearing dates. Everything gets pretty intense in January. Not only do we have the hearings, but then the agency, or the volunteers need to make the recommendations. They do that independently, and was that a lot of fun, Quinn? That was a lot of fun. Bryce, was it a lot of fun? It was a lot of fun. So they each volunteer makes a recommendation based on their focus area, so they would have to make recommendations for all 4 funders. So Bryce and Quinn and Nick and everybody got to make recommendations for United Way dollars, for Story County dollars, for city dollars, as well as Iowa State dollars. We come together at the work session, we look at what the average is, we talk about what services we're able to provide either in their hearing or in the liaison report or in their community impact or their impact needs or the impact report, their data collection, and looking at the priorities. So all of that is talked about at the work sessions. And recommendations then, like I said, the spreadsheets then are collected and the information is shared during that week of the work teams. So not all 24 volunteers sit around the table during the education one. It's just those wearing the education hat and et cetera. When we're complete and everything's voted on, it does get posted to the asset website. If you have not visited the asset website, just Google Story County Asset and you will see lots of information, including our reference manual, which is the Bible for everybody, including the volunteers, including the agencies, and policies and procedures. So the reference manual as a Senate you will not see, but the policies and procedures, whenever they're updated, you need to approve those because that is written in the policies and procedures that each individual funder has to approve those. Back to the work sessions, we'll keep going. Buzz through that one. There we go. Buzz through that one. I think we've covered everything. Buzz through that one. So I talked about the asset reference manual, the policies and procedures, the website, and then we also have an asset administrator's manual that kind of gives us a guideline as far as what needs to be covered. Like I said at the beginning, asset is very important to this community. I can't imagine having $4.8 million distributed individually, the county doing $1 million, United Way doing $1 million, you all doing $260,000. I think it works because we're able to take our limited resources, and we do have limited resources, and collectively put them into play into the community. I think that's the last slide. Budget forms, I already talked about those. Those are Excel spreadsheets, and they're so much fun. There's the last slide. So any questions or any information that we didn't cover that you'd like more information on?
Are there any questions for our asset folks? Seeing none, thank you both so much for coming. We've got one more thing.
We really can't thank you enough for participating in the asset process and offering volunteers. I think we're going to see Quinn back, right? What about Nick? Oh, okay. Congratulations. But we certainly appreciate your support. Sarah, you're going to be coming back as well? Okay, all right. Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have the Student Legal Program present.
Yeah, thank you all for the opportunity again to be here this year. I was here briefly last year, and we had a few things on the agenda for last year, and some of those have been accomplished, and most of you know that the big accomplishment was the move up to the 6th floor. which couldn't have been done without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Some of you may have come up for the open house that was in September. I know Jacob was there, Jaden, you were there. I think Eddie, you were there, and Kit and some others. Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, it's changed my life, I'll put it that way. For many, many years, as you all know, we were downstairs with no windows, no storage room, very little, no file room, essentially, just doing what we could to serve students and get by. And now we have a view, we have windows, we have a storage room, and Debbie, who most of you I'm sure know, our office manager, Debbie Carter, has probably one of the nicest offices in the building, I'm sure. Very nice. And she struggled for years because people would walk in the door and just be right on top of her in the old space. So can't thank you enough. It really has given us sunlight and made everything so much more comfortable. And I think, too, it really helps serve the students well. It really does. It's efficient, and it's amazing. We have access to a conference room, so we can meet with many students at one time if there's a joint kind of problem going on. And that's really a delight. So all in all, it's been incredibly successful, and can't thank you enough. So for those of you who may be new, just a brief overview of what student legal is. And if you want, I'm not sure how we were going to do this. I really don't have any presentation other than our website, which I think we did last year. If you want to just bring it up, you want me to tell you what it is, you can put it on the screen. Or you can all just go to it. It is stugov.iastate.edu. And there she is. Yeah. And I'm not going to focus on any particular slide, but you can just kind of scroll through the slides. Whoever's running the slides tonight, kind of give you an idea of what it's all about. Basically, Student Legal Services is pretty much a full-service legal aid office on the campus of Iowa State University. We operate pretty much like a legal aid office, meaning there is free and confidential services for students. They don't pay anything to use the service, to use the attorneys. Of course, you're financing the operation, so it's not free in that sense, but it's free to the students in the sense that they don't have to pay anything to see us, utilize us, and that's an amazing thing here and nationwide. I forget the number of universities across the country that have student legal services, but most of the major universities do. Uniformly, it's greatly appreciated by the students across the country because of just the service that's provided and the ability to have access to legal services without having to fork over a lot of resources that students typically don't have, a lot of money for that at this stage of their life. So that's what we do, and as a general practice sort of legal aid office, we pretty much run the gamut. It could be anything one day to something completely different the next. And by that, what I mean is, and I think I've made this point before when I've addressed the Senate, what keeps me here is the variety. It's just amazing. I mean, you have students from all over the world, and you think that you're in the middle of the heartland, and pretty much in almost the middle of the state, and you can be dealing with, with an international student who's considering, what their options might be in terms of seeking asylum in the United States because of things that might be going on in their home country that represent a serious risk of persecution to them should they return. So So one day you might be talking about that, and the next day you're talking about the typical, not that every case is the same, but they have similarities, MIP, and you all know what that is, right? Which is, of course, a very common charge on every campus. But it literally runs from A to Z. We've dealt with zoning issues involving, occupancy limits in residential housing, leases, landlord-tenant issues. So it's the gamut. Typically, statistically, it's amazing how consistent it is from year to year. We pretty much run about 25% of the caseload is criminal, 25% is housing, landlord-tenant and other kinds of housing issues, and about 30% is miscellaneous, which includes immigration issues, contracts, a lot of other kinds of things, powers of attorney, different types of things of that nature. So together, those three really form the bulk, which is about 80% of what we do. And the rest is, just whatever walks in, and it can be, something unusual or something pretty uncommon, and that's always interesting. So it's an amazing variety, and we really enjoy it. The program, having started in '85, it started with one attorney from 1985 to 1990, and then two attorneys from 1990 to the present, and that's what we have. I'm Mike. Most of you, I think, probably know me. I'm Michael Levine. Our other attorney is Paul Johnson, and our office manager and our right arm of the operation is Debbie. Most of you, I'm sure, have had occasion to meet Debbie as well. She's been here quite a while. Future plans. If you scroll through the website, you'll see that it needs a little updating. I'm not sure that we've even updated our address, have we? I think it might have been updated. We're now on, 6580, yeah. But we also plan this year to add some additional content, subject matter content, dealing with some common areas, common issues and problems that arise, dealing, unfortunately, with pretty much alcohol-related issues and some other things and we're always open to suggestions. So whatever you folks think might be useful to include on that, we'd love to hear from you. Take any suggestions you have, because we're gonna get some assistance from some folks that know a lot more about these websites than I do, of how to update them and what to add. So if any of you have any suggestions on that, feel free. Again, I just want to say thank you. Come up and see our location anytime you'd like. We couldn't possibly do what we do without you, and can't express enough how grateful we are for your commitment to Student Legal Services, for the support that you've given the program over the years. I know we've done put out some new surveys, satisfaction or otherwise surveys this year, and the service is really appreciated by the students, and the satisfaction is substantial, very substantial. So we think it's a wonderful service. We want to continue it, and we can't thank you enough for your support. So any questions, I'm happy to answer. I know you got a long night ahead of you, so I'll just leave it at that. If there's anything I'm able to address, I look forward to it.
Are there any questions for Student Legal? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming.
Okay, thank you.
With that, we will now move into open forum, which shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about issues relevant to the student body. If anyone is here this evening for open forum, you may approach the podium at this time. If you could say your name and major, and then you'll have 10 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Obi Agba. I'm a junior studying political science, minors in computer science and philosophy. I just wanted to bring up just an issue I guess I had encountered. As the elections are underway, I would like to express my concerns about this year's process. With less than half of the candidates compared to last year, and only one candidate who is not currently in a senatorial position, we face a major scarcity in potential leaders. I believe that this scarcity is in part due to the outdated resources on our website, which has long been a topic of extensive discussion amongst our organization. The website serves as the primary source of information for our students, and it is critical that we provide it, that it provides accessible and accurate information to all those who seek to engage with our organization. We must consider the importance of professionalism in student government and how it affects our credibility. If we display misinformation on our website, we risk losing the trust of our students and ultimately diminish our reputation as an organization. For instance, despite holding more information sessions in February, the information displayed on the Election Commission's section still shows January only in information sessions, which may discourage students from joining had they not have time to go to these sessions in January. Expecting inexperienced students to jump through these hoops in order to piece together updated information may make some questions about the care that we put into our organization. And I believe the only way that like a potential candidate would be able to find out the information about the session, the February sessions, would be through the Election Commission's Instagram, for which there's no links to on the Election Commission's Instagram on their session of the website. To my knowledge, only one person has sole responsibility over our website, which is a monumental task for any individual. As someone who has been a social media manager, I understand the challenges of consistently updating the website on top of the stress of being a student. Therefore, we must explore possibilities of restructure in our IT department to better maintain our website and ensure that it is up to date with accessible information. I believe this is already kind of being talked about, and so I would like if, like, someone who has a more integral role to this change, speak more about it. As we move into the next term and the remaining amount of days that I'm sure our president will notify us about very soon, website maintenance should be addressed with more urgency. I recommend that the Senate collaborates with the executive branch to critically examine the website and overhaul it if necessary. Our goal is to work together as an organization to best advocate for the student body, and we must prioritize the website as a vital tool in achieving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening for open forum? Seeing no one else, we'll move into adopting tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to do so? Do you withdraw? State your motion.
Mr. President, I move to add 2022-3-017 SA, amending the contract allowing business.
It has been moved and seconded to add 2022-3-017 SA, amending the daily contract to the bottom of new business. Is there any objection to making this amendment? Seeing none, this bill shall be added. It has been moved and seconded to adopt tonight's agenda. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, the agenda shall be adopted for this evening. We'll now move into approving the minutes. Is there any objection to approving the minutes from last meeting? Seeing no objections, they shall be approved. we'll move into committee reports, starting with rules and Speaker Mahoney.
Hey everyone, so Rules had a little bit shorter meeting than we've had in the past couple weeks, which is fine by me. But we mostly discussed what we want sort of general senator responsibilities to look like. The reason Senator Margaret's right to a responsive representative bill ultimately got tabled in committee indefinitely was because it brought up a broader topic of discussion about sort of discretion in terms of responsibilities of senators. So we had a pretty in-length and in-depth discussion about that, which has ultimately led to what exists in section 2.3 of the new bylaw, or the new operating rules of the legislative branch, rules of the legislative branch, that I just put into the teams yesterday, as well as printed out a couple physical copies in the office. The rest of the bylaws and one more chapter of the operating rules of the legislature will be published before the end of the week, before the start of spring break. So any of you bylaw nerds want to look over those over spring break, please do so. Otherwise, Rules Committee will start talking about those pretty heavily in the coming weeks. Other than that, that's really all we did. We're probably going to have to maybe call a special session or two, depending on how many bylaw bills we end up seeing before the rewrite happens, and how fast we can kind of get through reviewing everything. So, in Rules Committee, I mean. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Please look through the updated copies as they get released, and as changes are made, I'll keep kind of notifying in the teams whenever I make like major changes.
Are there any questions for Rules Committee? Seeing none, we will now move on to Finance with Director Claiborne.
Hello, everybody. First, I want to say Happy International Women's Day. Last week I was month, but now it's day. So, again, wishing you all who identify as female, identify as women, Happy International Women's Day. So all the bills on tonight's agenda relate to finance, so I will be heavily involved, hopefully, in tonight's discussion. Updates, you got your Claiborne's Cash Cow a few minutes ago. For that, funding the Agricultural Marketing and Management Organization was sent favorably with a few amendments. The Rodeo Club was set no bias. So this is because within our events account, we have a little over 32,000, and this bill is for 30,000. So obviously, we sent it no bias to Senate so we can have a discussion if we want to take almost all of the remaining events account for this specific bill, or if we want, we can just switch from events to special projects. Again, I'm fine with whatever, just having a discussion with Senate. And then the Funding Western team was sent favorably. Well, we will have to waive first read on that bill because their competition is next week, and obviously we don't meet next week. So please waive first read on that, have a discussion. And then also, yesterday was our last annuals meeting. So Finance Committee is officially done a meeting with organizations for annuals. Now, all it has to take is for me over spring break doing a lot of calculations to see what we have, and then also bring the big picture bill to the floor. March 22nd, I will be doing a program relating to annuals. We'll also kind of talk about how we will do Robert's Rules specifically for that annuals process. Please listen to Vice Speaker Bruick when he talks about it because it is very important. It is our rules alone. They're in the Senate Rules of Order, Operating Rules of Senate. So if you are interested in seeing how we will be speaking, you can look at those. And I think that is it. We've been very busy, but I love it. Any questions?
Questions for Finance? Seeing none, thank you, Kit. We'll move on to PR with Director Haas.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for whoever helped out with a Women's Day event in the Student Innovation Center. I know originally we were supposed to be on Curtis Lawn, and due to the icky weather today, we just decided to go into the Student Innovation Center, and that was really great. We had a lot of people come up to us and participate. And also, that's where the donuts are from, so feel free to take a donut. So please let Sundar know if you helped out with that event or any outreach event so you can get your outreach credit. Also, the MIS is on Teams, so make sure you're signing up for outreach on the MIS. And then Wolves and Wellness and After Dark are on March 31st. Be on the lookout for those events, as well as our gaming tournament, which is beginning of next month. And I'm working on a showcase, committee showcase, so look out. I will send out an email to all our committee chairs. I'll probably work on that after break. And then we have a couple other little projects too. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the PR committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to diversity with Senator Frencher.
Hello. So for our International Student Town Hall, we're still deciding which faculty and staff to invite for the town hall so we can have a more solution-based approach for the town hall. We also talked to risk management to include more multicultural vendors on the food list, and we will be collaborating with the ISC on food for that event as well. And then for our funding event, we're still trying to get more RSVPs from clubs to make sure that they know how to get funding from student government. And then we are still trying to make sure we know where our food is coming from for that event. That's it.
Are there any questions for the diversity committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to student initiatives with Senator Mays.
Hello. I don't have too many updates this week. We are still having our events go through the event authorization process. Also for April, for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we are going to be officially kind of working with Green Dot. There's 2 specific events that we're trying to do that are occurring before we turn over the session. So we're going to be participating in those. And like Jamie said, for the events that we have, which is Wolves and Wellness and then our gym event, once those are clear, just go ahead and sign up on the MIS if you're still needing any more outreach hours. Otherwise, it's going to be fun anyway, so please just come even if you don't need outreach hours, and invite people once it's officially cleared. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I have for everybody. Ooh.
Are there any questions for student initiatives? Seeing none, we'll move on to local affairs. Is there a representative from local affairs? I don't believe ex officio Eaton is here. Senator Margaret.
Good evening, Senate. I have an update from committee, but it's pretty brief. It was more of an administrative week, to be honest with you, so we're talking about how we advance that outreach project that I shared with you all last week, because we have all these wonderful opportunities and so many different calendars that we want to be packaging in a way that students can actually understand it and attend these events. We're thinking we want to do that in some sort of web format, so we're looking at what that is, and stay tuned. I'll have more updates on that. And I do have from ex officio Eden 2 updates. Firstly, SciRide is getting 3 new buses that are lower to the ground and more accessible. And secondly, City Council approved a budget for low-income housing units. So those are both 2 pretty great things that are happening in our community, and we're pointing at the door. And that's what I have for this week. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the local affairs committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to sustainability with Director Vanderkamp.
Hey y'all, sorry I couldn't be here last week. I was at work, but I was really excited to see that we passed the bill last week. I'm excited to see where that goes. The only news I have is that the University Sustainability Committee is hopefully sometime in the next month is going to have a resolution proposed to President Winterstein, specifically about advocating for ASHE as well as promoting sustainability. We should also have a little bit more representation from student government and other entities regarding the report of messaging, and if you guys have any details or want any more information about specifically what students have been saying about sustainability. We have a few reports. There was presented at Sustainapalooza. If you were there, you had the chance to see that as well. But just kind of making sure that we advocate for students and try to actually display what they want to see more of sustainability or what initiatives they want to see in the future from student government. So working on that and excited to see where that goes in the last month that we have. Thank you.
To add off that, there's also a few seats still left on the University Sustainability Committee specifically for students, so you can get involved that way as well. If there's no questions for sustainability, we will move on to health and wellness with Director Everest.
Hello, everyone. As you know, this marks the end of committee announcements. I always know I'm last. My committee met today. A couple of our projects are coming along really well. The biggest one that's kind of gotten wrapped up so far is a food drive for SHOP. So we will be doing kind of an inter-student government food drive. If you want to bring items to inauguration, and there will be a reminder sent out as well on the invitation. Just doing kind of a little small-scale food drive, and then hoping to build on that for the next director next year. Also working on some accessibility with recreation services and some entry-level physical activity so students don't feel so intimidated trying to join an athletic facility or club. And then also working on promoting the telecounseling service. And I want to remind all of you that you can sign up for the telecounseling service, and then if you need to use it, you already have an account. President Ludwig and I met with Kristen Sievert from Student Counseling about renewing the TAO contract. That will come up eventually. We saw some numbers, and the amount of users has increased by like 4,000% over the past year or two in TAO. So we are seeing a lot of students using it, so I encourage all of you to download it and promote it within your constituencies. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the Health and Wellness Committee? Hearing none, we'll now hear comments from the judicial branch. No one's here. All right. We'll move on to comments from the advisor with Sophie.
Hello, everyone. Happy week before spring break. I know I'm on a different side today. I just want to say I hope all of you have a good spring break and you're able to get the rest that you need for the last weeks of the semester. I have a few announcements for everybody. I just wanted to say that student organization award nominations will be open on March 20th. They have categories such as Student Leader of the Year, Student Organization Advisor of the Year, Commitment to Service, Commitment to Diversity, and Event of the Year. You can find that on the Student Engagement website when applications open on Monday, March 20th. Beyond that, I would like to say that it was really cool that Asset was able to come and give a presentation to all of you. That is an incredibly awesome thing that we're able to do for the community. If you are interested in being a liaison or know of someone that is passionate about providing opportunities for your community, I would say definitely have them reach out to nonprofit coordinator Schrader about Schroeder. Oh, I was right. Okay. Schrader, about that opportunity for next year, because I know that we are always looking for people that are able to fill that role, especially with the timeline of it being in early January, which is a time that is hard for a lot of you, understandably. So that's something that we take really seriously. I know that nonprofit coordinator Schrader, and I do believe the local affairs committee, I could be wrong, are working on priorities, or is that just, yes, we'll be working on priorities, and that's something we need to take incredibly seriously. So whenever you get information on that, please review it, talk to it with your talk to it amongst yourselves with constituents, and really try to figure out what are your priorities as student government for that funding. Beyond that, I will be asking for meetings post spring break, just to see how the year went, just kind of nice little wrap up so I can get some feedback from all of you. So if you need anything, please let me know. This is the end of my report.
Are there any questions for our advisor? Senator Margret.
Not technically a question, but I can make it a question if I have to do that. Just about the asset priorities, that's a good thing to mention. I hadn't thought of that. I did put those in teams. So if you want to check those, see what you think of them, bring your feedback when we eventually talk about those, I'd encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll now hear comments from the executive branch with President Ludwig.
Good evening, everyone. I will try to keep this as brief as possible, although I never really can. Biggest thing, last week, obviously, a number of us were gone. We were in D.C. for Big 12 on the Hill. That was including myself, Vice President Ulrich, Director of Government Affairs Filippi, and Senator Becker. Really productive time out in D.C. There were 84 students from 14 different institutions there. So we have the current members and then the actually 3 institutions that are coming into the Big 12. And the next year we're also there. I think the only school missing was Houston. So had a lot of schools there. We visited with visited and met with about 50 to 60 offices as a conference as a whole, talking primarily about affordability, and in there the big push was on Pell Grants, making sure that they continue to be a strong and viable source of financial aid for students going into the future. And then we talked a lot about mental health and mental health resources, and just the challenges that we're facing on each of our campuses. Our Iowa State delegation specifically met with all 6 members of Iowa's congressional delegation, talking about mostly the same issues, but we also highly emphasized new issues with the FAFSA program, primarily how it will affect farm families and families with small businesses. Some of the new math will potentially result in those families getting less financial aid going into the future, so we talked a lot with our delegation about that, and happy to share that actually 3 members of Iowa's congressional delegation actually just this last week, as a part of those conversations, decided to introduce a bill to actually roll back some of those changes in the FAFSA to protect farm families. So really productive conversations there. And yeah, once we got back from DC, had a meeting with the ISU Foundation, Mary Evanson over there to talk about the Jack Trice Character Award Scholarship. Sometime in probably the next couple of weeks, we will go through the process of actually selecting some student representatives to sit on the selection committee. So be on the lookout for that. There will actually be, at least one of those will be an election here in Senate. So if you're interested in that scholarship and kind of how that gets allocated, you will have the opportunity to run for a seat on that committee. And then additionally, we had a conversation about potentially putting more investment into the Jack Trice Character Award Scholarship, but that will be something that we talk more about in the future. The state of things, last week we recorded with Mayor Hala, and then actually this week we'll be recording with John Lawrence, who is the Vice President for Extension and Outreach here at Iowa State. If you don't know, John Lawrence is actually retiring at the end of this semester. He's been with the university for about, I think, 20-ish years, but he's been the Vice President for Extension and Outreach since 2017, so he'll be retiring soon. So a nice exit interview on the state of things. Then everything else is contracts. Met with the shop executive team to talk about a potential contract to support their operations. As Director Everest said, we met with the Counseling Center to talk about TAO. And then, of course, as you're all aware, an amendment to the daily contract was just added to the agenda for tonight. So we've been having conversations with daily leadership for, I think, the last 3 or 4 months about how we might provide additional support for the daily so that they can pay their reporters more and expand their operations. The amendment that you see on the agenda tonight is the end result of those conversations. I implore all of you to look at it critically, and if you have questions, Kate Keeley, the editor-in-chief of the Daily, is here tonight. We'll be here when we vote on the contract amendment. If you have any questions, you can send them to us or to Kate, and we're happy to talk about any aspect of the amendment. So with that, I will yield for questions.
Are there any questions for President Ludwig? Seeing none, we'll jump into the content of the evening, starting in External Matters 2022-3-010F, Funding Rodeo Club with Senator Eisma.
Hi, everybody. If the representatives of the Rodeo Club could come to the podium.
Is there any objection to adding Senator Eisma and Senator Tupete to the roll? Seeing no objections, they shall be sat.
Hello, my name is Connor, and I'm a member of the Rodeo Club. Tonight, we're asking for funding for our 2023 60th anniversary Cyclone Stampede. This is a great event that we think the student government would love to be a part of. Our event has had a really great turnout in the last couple of years. We've had over 1,000 in attendance for 2 nights and 4 performances, so one during the midday and one during the evening. But if we get funding from you guys, we're hoping to we will make it so that it's free to students. But it's a great exhibition of Iowa State. We're in the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association, so we have student athletes from all across the Midwest coming into our university. And we'd love to, fill the stands and be able to afford this event and make it as representative of Iowa State as possible. So that's a little bit about me. I'm just a club member.
My name's Emily Akins. I'm the current rodeo club treasurer, and I also am a competing member on the rodeo team. So obviously this event is very important to me. I've been able to compete and work it the past 3 years, and I would just love to be able to see this continue with the help of you guys and your funding.
Senator Eisman, do you yield? The floor is now open for any discussion. We'll start with Speaker Mahoney.
I just have a couple questions. So I know we funded you in years past. I just was curious if there's any major changes from last year to this year in terms of total funding amount?
Yeah, it being the 60th year anniversary, we're still at the Hansen Center. We're looking to expand. We had 2 evening performances that filled out the capacity as much as we can. So for the last year, we've been working with the Hansen Center, trying to figure out a way to get more students in there and to kind of find some more seating and opportunities and things like that. But we're expecting a big turnout, so it's kind of just scales of economy, just making sure we have enough of seating and people taking tickets and things like that.
And then Finance Director Claiborne, I just had 2 questions. Events refills at the start of inauguration, right? Or kind of into the next fiscal year? Because I know we'd be
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year. And then is there any other major things that would come before it refills that typically hit events account?
No, I think this is around the same time last year that I think this is the 3rd year they've done it in a row.
Yes.
I usually not, but again, basically what events it's basically the same thing. They no PNC. It's just specifically for events. It has 3 qualifications. Has to be open to all students, free for all students, and inviting in nature. Obviously, the rodeo is, but that's basically the only difference between events is special projects, and then the biggest thing again is special projects is a lot bigger budget than events.
So yeah, I've always loved Rodeo Club. You guys are one of the cooler things I think we fund, at least events wise. So I totally am in favor of voting yes.
Thank you.
Senator Dre.
Hi guys, so I just had a question about one of the line items. In food for concession stand, we're funding buying the food, but I just wondered if you guys sold it and where the money you made went.
I guess honestly, when we filled out the request for funding, I guess I don't think we requested funding to cover concessions because we do sell the food at profit. So I guess that would be something that I don't think we necessarily would need funding for.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, so just for clarification for everyone, so their initial one request was just $30,000 of just an overall thing. So I just took last year's budget, last year's bill, and then I allowed them the opportunity to have the $30,000, and then after this, I'll let them know if there is a specific thing that they have that say we put food on, but if they don't want to put food on and put it to something else, they can just do line item transfer, just like a big line item transfer bill, so they can kind of see. Because I wasn't comfortable doing just a straight $30,000 for event funding, just kind of putting it line item by line item. But again, if they kind of see where they need fit for that $30,000, they can just do a line item, and then we can just approve it in committee. So you won't be able. Obviously, it won't come to Senate, but I just wanted to Senate to see that in years previous, we've kind of broken it down more than just what they requested.
If I could add something too. If you can see on there too, the bulk of it is a rodeo contractor. So that's actually an alumni of Iowa State, and he's been a great representative for us, and he's worked with us, I think, for most of the 60 years. And he's the one who actually brings in the livestock, he brings in the bulls, makes sure everything's trained and healthy. And so that's kind of where a majority is going, is just making sure we have a quality stock contractor that knows what he's doing, and that's a bulk of what we're asking for.
All right, thank you guys, I yield.
Is there any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Senator Gopa.
You did this event last year, right?
Yes.
So how much revenue did you make from the food stand? like an average amount?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the profit, but I think it was a couple thousand, like maybe $3,000.
Would that be used to pay for anything else in the event or just future?
Yeah,
rodeo?
so all the money that we earn from the rodeo goes into our club account and is used to pay for next year's expenses, pay for any club expenses throughout the year, pay for travel expenses for our team members and stuff like that.
Okay, I yield. Thank you.
Is there a question has been called for and seconded? Is there any objection to moving to a vote now? Seeing none, Senator Eisma, closing comments. No closing comments. We will be doing a roll call vote being a finance bill. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain, starting with Agba. Yes. Becker. Yes. Bruick. Yes. Cecil. Excuse me. Yes. Okay. Dre. Yes. Eisma.
Yes.
Engelken. Yes. Frencher. Yes. Gopa. Hackbarth. Yes. Heidenreich. Yes. Holiday. Yes. Kuehler. Yes. Mahoney. Yes. Margaret. Yes. Mays. Yes. Mominy. Yes. Schnepp. Yes. Slater. Yes. Tansey. Yes. And Vo. Yes. With a vote of 21 to 0, the motion carries. Oh, whoopsies. All right. Well, excuse me for that. The motion has already carried, but I will fix that. I still had your name marked as absent on my sheet. I'm sorry about that. But thank you.
We expect to see you guys all there. Thank you.
If I do that again, speak up, please. 2022-3-011F, Funding Agricultural Marketing Management Organization with Senator, Senator Patel is currently not present. Is there another co-sponsor that'd like to, Senator Eisma?
If the representatives could stand up to the podium.
Hello, everybody. I'm Luke Lynch, president of the Agricultural Marketing and Management Organization.
Hello, everybody. My name is Wyatt Stout. I'm the secretary of the Agricultural Marketing and Management Organization. Little forewarning, I was not expecting a Shark Tank pitch. So a little bit about AMO. It's a smaller size club. We're looking on planning a or a spring industry tour, and we're wanting a little help with funding. We're looking to plan to attend the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky. Down there would be a great networking opportunity. There's not only equipment dealers, but industry representatives such as Machinery Pete, Big Tractor Power. A lot of those guys are down there. They have a big tractor pull. I feel like it'd be a really great opportunity for our club, as well as some of our members to go down there and get to experience that.
Senator Eisma, do you yield? With that, the floor is now open for any discussion. Is there any objection to approving the Finance Committee amendments? Seeing no objections, they shall be approved. Senator Engelken.
Hi, how many members are planning on going on this trip?
We're only looking to take about 10 to 15 members.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. I yield.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Question's been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to ending debate now? Seeing no objections, Senator Eisma, closing comments. Seeing no closing comments, we will go again into a roll call vote. When I say your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Agba. Yes. Becker. Yes. Bruick. Yes. Cecil. Yes. Dre. Yes. Eisma.
Yes.
Engelken. Yes. Frencher. Yes. Say that again.
Yes.
Gopa. Yes. Hackbarth. Yes. Heidenreich. Yes. Holiday. Yes. Kuehler. Yes. Mahoney. Yes. Margaret. Yes. Mays. Moscar. Momini. Schnepp. Slater. Tansey. Topete. And Vo. With a vote of 23 to 0, the motion carries.
Thank you.
We're now moving to internal matters. No, we have no more. All right, we're going into new business, folks. Starting with 2022-3-013Y, creating cabinet stipends with Senator Holliday.
All right, hi everybody. So creating cabinet stipends is going to basically just be a bill to add to the bylaws that certain directors of project-based opportunities be offered a stipend based off of how they are presenting their work throughout each semester. So how it would be awarded or given to each director is the president and vice president would meet with the director after a certain point in the semester hits and kind of reflect on everything that they have done so far to see if they're meeting the standards granted. And then this would be presented to the Senate, and then Senate would have the opportunity to amend those as well as approve or deny in general.
All right, the floor is open for any questions of intent, and I will remind everyone that each senator gets a singular question of intent. We'll start with Speaker Mahoney.
Do you intend to include the two chief officer positions that do not receive any compensation whatsoever, those being the chief of staff and the vice speaker?
It depends.
It does need to be a yes or no.
No.
Senator Becker.
Do you intend to tell students that we're going to pay people they didn't vote for?
Yes.
Senator Slater.
Will this be amended to add the other people on the executive, such as the Director of Governmental Affairs and the other ones that aren't listed on this?
No.
Senator Mays.
At our next meeting, will you have prepared explanations as to why certain positions wouldn't be getting paid and why others will be?
Yes.
Okay.
Senator Cecil.
Do you have a reasoning behind the differing values of each position?
Yes.
Senator Gopa.
So are you saying even at-large senators who spend like over 5+ hours on student government won't be paid?
Could you repeat the question?
So at-larges, senators, other cabinet positions, the people who spend like 4+ hours per week on student government, are you saying those people will not be paid with this bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Senator Dre.
Would you consider student government cabinet members the only project-based club to be rewarded on campus? Cabinet members? No.
Are there any further questions of intent? Seeing none, we'll move on to 2022-3-014SA, ratifying the fiscal year 2024 asset contracts with Senator Eisma.
There we go. Hi, everybody. Yep, we're just ratifying the fiscal 2024 asset contracts. If anyone has any questions, let me know, yes or no.
All right, are there any questions of intent? Seeing none, we'll move on to 2022-3-015F, approving the fiscal year 2024 asset recommendations with Senator Eisma.
Hi, everybody. Once again, approving the fiscal 2024 asset recommendations, I can answer yes or no.
Are there any questions of intent? Seeing none, we'll move on to 2022-3-016F, Funding Western Team with Senator Tansey.
Yes. Right here. Mr. President, I'm going to move to waive first read.
There's a motion on the floor to waive first read on Funding Western Team. Is there a second? All right, we'll now move into discussion on waiving first read. Is there any discussion? Speaker Mahoney.
Can I just ask why? What reason? I yield.
Their competition's next week.
Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to moving to a vote on waiving first read for the Funding Western Team? Seeing no objection, unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to passing or waiving first read unanimously? Seeing none, it shall be waived. Senator Tansey, second read on the bill.
Would the representative step to the podium, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Jinks. I am the treasurer of the ISU Equestrian Club Western Team. We had people make it to semifinals in Weirsdale, Florida, and so we are taking a minivan and also driving all the way down there for the 20 hours, and then competing for 2 days. And we have 4 classes that we're competing in, which is $85 registration fee per class. And then also we're requesting a third for transportation of a minivan to transport 6 people down.
All right. Senator Tansey, do you yield? All right, the floor is now open for discussion. Vice Speaker Bruick.
Hi, Finance Director Claiborne, have you or Finance Committee either or looked over this bill and kind of, done the basic checks on it to make sure it all adds up and works right?
Like, did we see the bill, or is the math correct? Or both?
Did you or Finance Committee check the math and all that? And
I
check-
wrote the bill,
Yeah,
so,
you-
yeah, it's right. I also had finance look, so.
Perfect, thank you. I yield.
Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to ending debate now? Seeing no objection, Senator Tansey, closing comments. No closing comments. We will move into a vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Agba. Yes. Becker. Yes. Bruick. Yes. Cecil. Yes. Dre. Yes. Eisma. Yes. Engelken. Yes. Frencher. Yes. Gopa. Yes. Hackbarth. Yes. Heidenreich. Yes. Holliday. Yes. Kuehler. Yes. Mahoney. Yes. Margaret. Yes. Mays. Yes. Moscar. Yes. Momini. Yes. Schnepp. Yes. Slater. Yes. Tansey. Yes. Topete. Yes. And Vo. Yes. With a vote of 23 to 0, the motion carries. Still in new business, our final bill of the evening, 2022-3-017SA, amending the daily contract with Speaker Mahoney.
All right, everybody. This is something that I think most of you knew was coming. We've been talking about it for quite a long time now. So this has been the product of repeated negotiations over the last 4 months, chiefly President Ludwig, but there's been a lot of discussion amongst chief officers, what we wanted to see, as well as just kind of taking into account the concerns that have been brought up on both sides over the last number of years. So it ultimately is culminating in this. The quick couple rundown things that everybody kind of understands is happening. They would ultimately increase to about $540 grand a year. That would also come with the intention of us getting a small fee increase to cover that cost. It would also include a new cancellation process. Long story short, if there was a interest in canceling the contract, senators would start petitioning to the finance director. The finance director, immediately upon receiving the first petition, would start talking to the daily. So that conversation could be had over a longer period of time, and it would only be once half of seated senators have said that they have an interest in canceling the contract, that the bill would then come forth. On our side then, it includes line items on the specific fee increase or the specific increase, that 200 grand will have specific line items. That will also be subject to an audit being done by the Senior Vice President of Student Affairs Office, or Toya Younger's office. And it would also include a 1-year extension on the contract. So currently this contract is set to expire in 2025. It would now expire in 2026 should these amendments pass. If anybody has any major questions, President Ludwig's here tonight. Kate Keeley, the editor-in-chief of the Daily, is here tonight. Please ask them. Otherwise, more than welcome to email any of the chief officers, email President Ludwig, or email Kate over the course of spring break. I expect lots of good discussion on this bill when we see it 2 weeks from now.
Are there any questions of intent? Seeing none. All right. Thank you for a good night. We'll move into closing announcements. Senator Keeler.
All right, so the volleyball team I talked about last week has been created. Our team name is Ballrich, after our lovely student body vice president, Jaden Ulrich. We have 13 members, and our season will start the week after spring break. And if you're still interested in joining and change your mind, you have until tonight at 11:59. So if you somehow change your mind, please let me know today. I yield.
President Ludwig.
Okay, I've just got a couple closing comments. First, polls close at 11:59 tonight. So if you haven't voted, and I hope you all have, please do. If you have friends who haven't voted, tell them how to vote. Go to vote.iastate.edu. They should have the email in their inbox. If they don't, they can email the Election Commission, and that can be rectified. But yeah, I just want to say that I'm really proud of the campaign season. We've had a few hiccups along the way this year, and some struggles. But overall, really proud of all the candidates that ran for the executive slates and for Senate. This is a different experience for me. This is my first time at Iowa State that my name hasn't been on the ballot during one of these elections. So my month of February has been a lot less stressful than has been typical for me. But as a soon-to-be alumni of this university, I'm really confident in the future of this campus and what you are all going to be capable of. So I look forward to seeing what new directions you go in. So just wanted to, again, thank all the candidates for a great campaign season, and look forward to seeing the results on Friday. Second, since we're talking about an election this year, and a lot of us were elected last year, just a reminder, 37 days. That's what we got left. So this is it. We're really coming down to it. There's no time to start anything new. And it's my intention to leave everything out on the field before the end of this. So I hope that all of you do the same. Make the most of these last couple meetings. I know that they are going to be packed. We've got some big things coming through. Pay attention, talk a lot, and make the most out of this. There's going to be some really big bills coming through, just money-wise, about the organization of student government as a whole, and I would really implore you to consider those carefully. And then lastly, I'd like to gush just a little bit about my vice president, Jaden Ulrich. For those of you who don't know, a couple weeks ago, Jaden Ulrich was awarded the Wallace E. Barron Award by the Alumni Association. The Wallace E. Barron Award was established by the association in 1968 to recognize outstanding seniors who display high character, outstanding achievement in academics, university and community activities, and promise for continuing these exemplary qualities as alumni. Jaden was given this award by the association a couple weeks ago. There was a press release from CALS, so just wanted to recognize him. I also wanted to read, just real quick, 2 quotes from some of his nominators, one of which who wrote, "In summary, Jaden Ulrich is an extraordinary Iowa State student demonstrating excellent academic skills, accomplishments, and service contributions. In his life as an alumnus, Iowa State will be proud of his future accomplishments." And another nominator wrote, "I am struck by how well he is able to stay on task, make appropriate modifications, and stay energized through processes involving so many people. His attitude day in and day out is upbeat and positive. It is genuine and draws people to him. He is a natural leader. So give it up for Jaden Ulrich. And that's all I got for you.
I'm going to interject in my closing comments before you two. I also would like to recognize that of the 7 all university senior awardees for this Wallace E. Barron Award, I was one of them. But another one of the 7 was your very own president of the student body, Jacob C. Ludwig. So we were both very fortunate to receive this award this year, and we're both very proud of that. But with that, I'm blanking on you, Chief of Staff Roberts.
One that hurt a little. 2, I was also going to shout out Jacob, so thanks, Jane, for doing that. But again, just to reiterate Senator Agba's comments during opening forum and stuff, as election results are announced Friday, we will most likely have a lot of empty Senate seats. So really just kind of start talking to your friends, talk to your constituency councils, and really work to try to fill those before the next session starts, the next term starts, because otherwise we put them behind and delay them on the work that they can do as well. So just kind of encouraging you to do that.
Director Claiborne.
Hello, everybody. Again, thank you all for conversation tonight versus all of these. First, I want everyone to have rest and actually take time away from student government over spring break, please. I will for a day, so it's all I need. But please get some rest, take some time for yourself. This is midterms week for a lot of us, also election week, very busy week, so please take time. All of you interested in seeing how much we do have within our budget, not our budget, our allocations that were preliminary approved on yesterday, you can go to the OFP website. To get there, go to stugov.iastate.edu. Obviously, student government website, go over under the funding tab, funding overview, and then there's 3 main links. There's the OFP, so budget website, FY23 PNC, and then PNC for FY24. If you hit the budget website, you can log in, and you'll be a third-party person, so you won't have any access to actual budgets, but you can look at any budget you want. And with that, again, one word keyword. So again, if you're looking for student government, look up government, and then you'll see student government and click on FY24. You'll see our budget and obviously all of them. And again, I will highly encourage all of you to look at ours specifically, kind of see the increase from last year to this year. And also there are a few organizations, at least I know one, that will be coming to Senate for discussion because I think their increase in budget is a discussion that is larger than the committee. So we're bringing in them to come through. We'll also see our budget. We usually see our budget. Again, if you do have any questions relating to those and you do want to look those up over spring break, I'm more than welcome to kind of guide you what to do. And if you do see any of the budgets that you are questioning, kind of what they, why there is an increase, you can ask me. Because again, obviously I was in all those meetings, so I know all of their worries and all of their reasons why they had an increase in funding. And if you want to talk to the organization themselves, I can give you their contact information so you can kind of email them and see why. But there are, from Finance Committee, there has been, I'll kind of give you background, there have been increases in majority of the university's events. How they run the university, how the university runs events has seen an increase. And also this is the first year since FY21 that we have fully had most carryovers gone through. So there are a few budgets that it's around $30,000 more than previous years, and that's because their carryover request from FY21 finally went through 2 years later. So this is a year that Finance Committee had to do some cuts. But obviously, with an increase in everything, we kind of have to have a conversation in finance on what we wanted and what we needed to do. Again, if you do have any questions, please email me any questions you have, and kind of you do need a step-by-step instruction on how to look up budgets, please let me know.
All right, I've already done mine, so we'll turn it over to Vice Speaker Bruick.
Hey everyone. I don't have too much, but obviously vote if you haven't, and tell people to vote. We still have a couple hours, like President Ludwig said. As Finance Director Claiborne alluded to, as part of the annuals process and familiarizing you with what annuals is and all the fun stuff that goes along with it, I'll be talking about and presenting on the special rules we have in the Senate rules for how we consider annuals. It's weird and even kind of esoteric to me, and if you know me, you know how much I love this stuff, so brace yourselves a little bit. It's kind of awkward and weird, but we'll get through it, I promise. It's not that big a deal. I have some stuff planned for any new senators or senators who I guess are currently senators but who haven't been here very long, if they're interested, for presentations for newly elected senators on what Senate is before they get dropped into the first meeting. We haven't really had much of that in student government in the last couple of years, and that's not ideal in my opinion. So I'm going to present, have a couple sessions before the first Senate meeting after results have been certified to familiarize new senators with the basic processes. They're going to be pretty similar, if you guys recall, to the working meetings that we already did about student government back in fall semester. They're going to be that, but packaged for people who have no idea what this organization is at all. So that's big. That's what's big on the horizon for me. Do volleyball. It's cool. We did it last year and there weren't enough people and that made it really lame. So please show up. It'd be cool. Make it more fun. With that, I have nothing else.
All right. As everybody has said, voting closes tonight. If you haven't, do it. Vote yes on the constitutional amendment. Tell your friends to vote yes on the constitutional amendment. I won't tell you how to vote yes on it or how to vote on anybody else, but that one, vote yes. Enjoy spring break. I know I will be thinking of all of you when I'm in Miami. Aside from that, like I said, I'm going to finish up the bylaws to release at the end of this week for spring break, so you all can look at them when you're bored on a plane or something. I don't know. I don't expect that many of you to look at them, essentially. But realistically, we have a lot of big bills coming in the next month or so. We've got already one contract, 2 to 3 more contracts coming. We've got asset, annuals, big picture bill, bylaw rewrite, and another major funding bill. I mean, we're talking about over $3 million worth of bills, as well as a total overhaul of our entire governing structure. So, lots of serious things coming down the pipeline. We're in crunch time. Going to start having some pretty long Senate meetings. So please come prepared to discuss. A lot of these are, I'm going to expect major discussion on, and I would hope that there's major discussion on because there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of complex pieces. Yeah, so be prepared to discuss. We've been getting better about that. Move to adjourn, go Cyclones.
This meeting is adjourned. Remember, there's donuts. Donuts if you want them. $2, people.